First of all, I want to confess to you that I am not an AI expert. I know nothing about AI. I am basically a person, an entrepreneur who runs businesses. But I have a passion for technology. I have a passion for innovation, and that has been the basis of our business and business transformation over the last 50 odd years. I'm working in this company. This is my 53rd year. So it's been a long, long innings. So I have seen very, very large transformations in the last 5 odd decades that's taking place. I had an opportunity to address this forum in 2020, I think. And where we were in the middle of the pandemic and a global reset at that time. I shared my thoughts on the concept of what Atmanirbhar Bharat is. That was the theme that the Honorable Prime Minister had put to the whole industry and the whole society. And what should be the priorities for Indian manufacturing? My space is only manufacturing, so I will only talk about manufacturing and then give you some examples of what we are doing in terms of how we are using some amount of, I wouldn't say AI, because when I heard Mr. Rao or Dr. Rao talk about this just before me, he himself said that he doesn't know what AI means, but it's a synonym that everybody is used now very loosely, so I will just say AI. In 5 years ago, when I made this talk, I said, you need 2-3 things in Indian manufacturing to catch up with the rest of the world. You need speed, speed, and more speed to do things. You need that because if you want to remain relevant and in sync with a rapidly evolving digital and AI-led technology landscape, more so in the backdrop of the nationalistic sentiments that were running at that time. So today, we are in 2026, almost 5 years later. That speed is being powered by what is loosely referred to as AI, but honestly, I don't see much of AI in practical world anywhere except what you see in terms of the chat GPT or some of the LLMs that are there by Google, by Grok, by Meta and other people. But let's understand, as somebody who looks at business and wants to bring in, new technology and innovation in business is inevitable because if you don't do it, you are going to be extinct like the dinosaurs. So one has to work hard towards maintaining one's own levels. Today, as a business, we are in the business of metal forgings for automotive, aerospace, power, oil and gas, shipbuilding, and we are the largest forging company on this planet. We are number one in this business today worldwide. And we have remained that way because in the old days when I started working in the 70s, we are working with steam. Steam was the main power source for our forging hammers. Then came electricity because steam was very expensive. You had to run boilers, you had to burn fuel. It was expensive and it was bad in terms of environment and the ecological output that came out of it. And then came automation. Till 1988, we had no automation. We had no robotics, no nothing in our company. Then came robotics, then came automation, and then came Industry 4.0 in the last 5-6 years. And now we are on the cusp of this new technology, which is a combination of digital and using algorithms to solve your problems, what we would call loosely as AI. Yesterday I spent a couple of hours watching on live TV the discussions that were going on in Davos in Switzerland. I've been going to Davos for 35 years. My last trip was in 2020. After that, I said enough is enough. But 35 years, and Mr. Murthy used to be there in Davos for a long period of time. It was fun those days because we had less number of people, there were better interactions with the universities, whether it was MIT, Stanford, or people from Harvard, technical people. You could meet customers in one place that otherwise took you 6 months to get an appointment. So it was a fantastic place. Today it has become a jungle, and if you saw it yesterday, it has now become a place where, one nation, I don't want to name this, but is demonstrating its hegemony on everybody else through everything that it has got. It was a pretty bad demonstration yesterday. That was my personal opinion. But hearing what people were saying there, there are 2 or 3 issues in my mind as somebody who wants to use the products of AI in manufacturing. We are a user. We are not involved in developing, or we are not involved in anything else. We want to use it for 2, 3 simple reasons. Number one, we think that it will improve our productivity. But this is, from what I heard yesterday, is a big question mark, because nobody has yet proven that this can improve productivity. Yes, there are a lot of use cases, but no use case that is defined where productivity in manufacturing especially will improve with AI. So question is, will it happen? Will it not happen? Because a lot of big investments are required, even for manufacturing company to get into AI. We have set up an AI incubation center. Ashok has seen this in Pune. We have 100-odd engineers. I made one simple rule there that nobody above the age of 35 can work in that place. Only for young people. And as we heard Professor Rao talk about, 7-year-old youngsters are able to code Python and solve problems. And we find that people who are in their 20s, late 20s, early 30s, are far more efficient in looking at the AI solutions that we want to implement in our business. So this is one problem, whether the productivity will happen or not in manufacturing. The second is, AI requires a lot of other infrastructure for it to succeed. We are seeing huge investments in data centers today all over the world. I mean, President Trump yesterday gave an example of Meta's data center that they are building in the US. He said, which is the size of a Manhattan Island, and spending close to $500 billion on that. The point is, the investment in data centers, nobody knows when the payback will happen. And that payback is dependent purely on the life cycle of the chip that they use. Already in India, we are seeing that people who have built data centers using the H100 chip are losing business very rapidly because there are faster chips available which are coming in the new data centers. So this is the second problem that we have, that we don't know what the investment ROI is going to be and who's then going to fund this investment. Because you need all this backbone to be able to applicate artificial intelligence in one's business. And the third is energy. Now, as far as energy is concerned, if you look at it from a conventional point of view, you would need some enormous amount of additional energy in India. And it is therefore necessary for us to look at the nuclear options, which have been approved by the government. But the problem is that if I put an application that I want to set up a 100 megawatt nuclear plant, for which technologies are now available in the USA for this SMRs, for example, it will take 5 years for the government to approve my application. Mr. Trump is approving this application in 15 days to 2 months at best. So we need to get our regulatory system on board to be able to meet with the requirements that this new technology proposes. So this is not a technology that is a transient technology. This is a technology that is going to rupture. If I use Prime Minister Mark Carney's language, the speech he gave in Davos, I've never heard a better speech in my life than what Mark Carney gave yesterday in Davos. I've heard many speeches in Davos. I've seen Yasser Arafat and the Israeli Prime Minister Ben Gurion that time meet together and try and solve their problem. Try and solve, because it never got solved. Ultimately, got about 70,000 Palestinians killed in the last 1.5 years, and still the problem is going on. But we have seen all these big events in Davos, people talking, making progress, making speeches. But what Mark Carney said, he said fundamentally two things. Don't believe in institutions that you have been used to. Because this is what we are going through is not a transient from one level to another level. What we are going through is a rupture. The same thing is with technology. When you look at AI, it's not a transition from some Industry 4.0 to digital and then to AI. Whatever that AI means, I don't even know what it means right now. It's a rupture. And the problem with this rupture is the hegemony of two countries or two states, the United States and China, are going to drive all this. In India, I heard Minister Vaishnav talk about this yesterday in Davos. He's talked about putting all the 5 layers that are required for AI transition in India. And I'm happy that they have taken a decision to follow a small language model instead of a large language model. They believe that smaller solutions in different areas will work better for us with far less cost than large language models. You've already seen large language models fail, like the Llama. It has failed completely, which came out in April. We heard Professor Uday's lecture a little while ago, and he talked about how AI can give you erroneous results if you work in a particular direction. It's very simple. It gives erroneous results because it is based on the data that it has got today, which is only sequential. It is not based on the laws of physics. It's not based on the laws that the world follows. Now, that is going to be the new AI that will come out whenever it comes out. And that will change the whole direction of the world as we see it, and applications for people like us in the manufacturing sector that we are in. Google is working on it. That's what they have announced. But we have to wait and see how it comes. So saying this, I will just go and tell you a couple of examples of what we are doing with AI, how we are using this in our manufacturing sector. So can you go to, yeah. So this is the most important example of what we are doing. We have said, how can we make our factory completely autonomous? How can we have robots talk to the machine talking back to the robots, and robots controlling a set of machines without human intervention? So this is something that we are working, and this requires a lot of compute power. So we are using NVIDIA compute power. It requires smart robotics to integrate with normal robotics, because just normal robotics can only do programmed functions of pick, place, or whatever else that you need to do. It cannot think about what needs to do when something goes wrong. So this is one of the things we are doing. And we are hoping that by the end of this year, we will have this running on our shop floor in terms of using some amount of artificial intelligence, a lot of smart robotics in putting solutions where manufacturing will become autonomous. The reason for doing this is not just to reduce manpower. This will increase productivity. Our guess is it increases productivity by 30 to 40%. It increases quality, so we will not have things that go wrong with human intervention sometimes, and just makes it a far better manufacturing environment. So we've been working on this. We have now got to a stage where our robots, our smart robotics are able to control the robotics that are on the machine. The robots are able to talk to the machine. That means the machine controller, and the controller is able to talk back to the robots. So any intervention you need to do, you don't need a person. It gets done automatically. We just have to put a couple of algorithms in place, and that's how use of AI will happen. And ultimately, this will lead to a dark factory in our system. So this is one example. The second example, we are now using VR, AR, and AI in designing products, complete products. So once we have a 3D CAD design, 3D model, just a simple CAD design, what every engineer does when he wants to design a product. With the software we have got, these are not our software, these are softwares that you get from outside, it gets converted into a 3D model completely. And that 3D model can then be blown up into components. And each component can then have an automated manufacturing sequence generated based on data that we have given to our AI agent in terms of how to produce it. So our experience is that by doing this, we are able to make a brand new product, and this is largely we are using this in our defense business, make a brand new product in 30 to 40% of the time that it requires otherwise, with much less manpower. So we are building, to give you an example, this is an artillery gun. We are building a light tank. We are building an FICV for the Indian Army. We are building a FICV that is tracked and that is wheeled. We are building turrets with guns, and these are highly automated systems. They are not simple systems. They are complex and automated. And therefore, you need simulation and you need those kind of things. Thank you, Mr. Murthy. See you. To understand this. And it becomes very easy once you have it in 3 dimensions even for an engineer to understand how to build this. So that's another example where we are using, let's say, a combination of digital AR, VR, and AI technology to create a production process for each component. Next. This is an interesting thing. We work with the Indian Navy for underwater systems. Underwater domain awareness is one of the most important focus for our defense organization. When they are developing various different products, operating at depths from 200 meters to about 1,000 meters, that's roughly about 3,500 feet. Capture oceanographic and acoustic data for end user of customers. This data that we capture by sensors is the raw data which needs to be then analyzed and processed to decision-grade insights. Towards that, we are now building an AI-driven platform that will convert passive raw hydrophone data into real-time actionable intelligence for better decision-making. This platform helps in enabling persistent multi-sensor surveillance, improving source localization, accuracy, minimizing operator cognitive load through visualization, reports, and providing AI-driven classification for rapid threat categorization. I mean, just imagine we have a large coastline. Imagine that you got enemy submarine. I wouldn't say enemy, you got submarines running around that coastline, which are not yours, somebody else's. You also have big fishes that run in our oceans. Now, how do you recognize what is what? How do you recognize what is a threat? How do you recognize what do you do when you recognize a threat? So those are the kind of things that we are developing here. We have now got almost half of these things deployed already with the Navy in the Indian Ocean, in the Bay of Bengal. The next step will be to do it in the Arabian Sea. But this is now going to be required in a very large number because of with all these trade wars and everything that is going on, the change in whole geopolitical situation, the sea lanes are going to be very, very important for shipping routes and sea lanes. And for that, we don't have any protection today. And this is the kind of protection. This requires a lot of AI-based, it's pretty much like what you do in health. If you do image sensing for health and then decide what is what, it's similar to that in health, except that you're image sensing the sea underwater and figuring out what is there and what is a foe and what is a friend. So these are some of the things that we are working on. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, no doubt. We believe that innovation in creating new processes, we are not creating new products. We create new products by doing other things, but creating new processes which make it more efficient, which make it more reliable, which make a better quality is the way we would use artificial intelligence along with digital technology and along with the Industry 4.0 processes that we have. And I believe for the country going forward, this is the future. If I look back for the last 50 odd years, as I explained, I've seen at least 3 or 4 major technological changes, but they were all transient changes. But this is a rupture. This is not transient. This is going to be learning everything new from scratch for many of us. And I hope that as a country, we will be able to make this happen. It's important for India to be in this game. It's important for Indian industry to be in this game. And I think it's important for the educational institutions like IIT to collaborate with industry together to make this happen. Thank you very much.
What a fascinating talk and so impressive to what are the kind of things that you're doing. I've actually seen that in the breakup of the tank into smaller parts and how you make them. To begin with, you started with Bharat Forge with forging of auto components and the chassis of cars and all that. I just want the audience to know what percentage of chassis does Bharat Forge controls in the world. I know that's a very impressive number, but I want to hear it from you.
Well, we are a very large supplier of chassis components for trucks, very large supplier of engine components for cars. And roughly on a worldwide basis, on the trucks, we have about 75% market share. And on the cars, we have about 60% market share. Almost every company in the world, right from General Motors, Ford, Mercedes, Audi,
Yes.
Toyota, Honda, everybody. So,
Yes. An anecdote, you know the name Alec Padamsee, and one time I was talking to him about which is your favorite companies, and of the 2-3 names I gave, one of them was on the top, was Bharat Forge. And he said, oh, I've never heard of Bharat Forge. I said, because Bharat Forge is not running around like a Mahindra car or a Tata car, but your Mercedes below you is Bharat 4 chassis. And then he read up and he came back to me and says how impressive it was. So I will, I cannot keep on asking you questions and so on, but I like the audience to ask questions, yeah.
Thank you, sir. We've met again after 40 plus years.
Yeah, you said that.
The technology stack that you have shown, especially in the underwater domain awareness, integrating the algorithms there, does this mean that you will also control and design the algorithms?
Yeah.
So
We are working, we are not doing it ourselves because I don't think we have the complete capability in terms of designing and developing algorithms, although we have a team that understands this reasonably well. So we are working with smaller companies in and around, within India, who know this much better, and we are seeing a lot of success in that. And it's a lot better for us to work with smaller companies who have expertise in this area, particular area, because you can do it quick and you can do it at a cost that is affordable.
Good morning, sir. I'm Professor Raman from National University of Singapore, and I also worked at Jindal University, IISc for a year, and the IISc Foundation, and also at ASEAN. So, as you know, that most of these technology transfers today happen at a treaty level. Singapore and Taiwan, for example, making the pen drive or the flash drive. So most of these are also, see, my thing is that in such a large context, there is no standardized board for this. Even the internet technologies, Tim Berners-Lee, etc., had a W3 council. There was an international standards council. I mean, I don't think Mr. Elon Musk gets along with anybody. I've met a very dear friend of his. My brother is at Cornell. I'm sorry, these men are fighting like schoolboys. So would it be a good idea to balance this with some even women in AI, sort of women in AI approach, number one, and secondly, if there is no one size fit all, because this is ultimately down to customization, what works. This is like the wheel, they're not reinventing the wheel, but what I'm essentially saying is there is no consensus in that sense. And how best for this part of the world, because technology is getting better, biology is getting worse. How does this part of the world balance sustainability? Because I work in sustainable design, that's my doctorate as well. How do they balance this with technology? Thank you, in the coming future generations.
Well, if I have to give you an answer on sustainability, we are the only company in the world that makes green steel, by the way. Okay? Only company. Green steel. You heard of green steel? Everybody talks about green steel. The Swedes have invested 3 billion euros in the north of Sweden to make green steel, which has, I think, failed. The Germans gave 2 billion euros to Krupp to make green steel, but they have withdrawn because it's not sustainable. We created a very simple model, a typical Indian model, you can call it jugaad, but whatever it is, of using circular economy, using electric arc furnaces, using renewable energy for electric arc furnaces, using biofuel for heating, and you have green steel. Now, this is the same formula that is now being copied in the rest of the world to make green steel. So, I think we are as, let's say, sensitive about ecology, sustainability as anybody else, but we are a little better because we find simple solutions to these things.
Just a remark. I visited the AI center. There is a young lady, maybe 35, maybe 34, who is in charge of that amazing AI center. So this is really a lot of women working in the AI. And especially in Bharat, a lady is in charge of the AI center, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Ananjay and I'm from Bangalore. Question for you is, you said 30-40% potential improvement in productivity. Now, dark factories and automation is already leading to a significant increase in productivity. So I'm trying to parse how much is AI and how much is just dark factories and automation, especially in very repeatable type of manufacturing processes.
See, in the kind of manufacturing process that we have, largely, let's say, automotive components, critical components, aerospace components. I make turbine blades for Rolls-Royce out of titanium. These are rotating components, rotate at very high speed. We make the turbine shaft. We make crankshafts for cars, trucks, big engines. Now, these are parts that have very, very close tolerances. And when you look at an aircraft component, for example, you can't even have, you have zero rejection. You can, it's like zero tolerance for terrorism. It's like that. You cannot have a 1%, a 0.5%, or 0.1% rejection. You just simply can't have it. So you have to have a process first that is digital. Because without a digital process, if you've got humans, people intervening in every step of the process, you're going to have problems. Because people make mistakes. I'll give you our example. In the 80s, we got our first export order to export a truck component to Japan, to Mitsubishi Motors. We were then using our old technology of hammers. So we made fantastic samples. The Japanese were very impressed. But when we made the first 1,000 pieces and sent, they rejected the whole lot and sent it back because we had metallurgical problems. When we investigated that, we found that when they take a tea break, like we had one coffee break a little while ago, that instead of 15 minutes, they go away for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and the material is sitting in the furnace getting overheated. And the whole metallurgical property goes for a 6. Now, this is the problem that we have. So we had to automate. That's when I made a decision that we will automate our plant. And today we have an automated plant. We don't have these kind of problems. But we now need to get over the problems of machine malfunctions. Now, when a machine malfunctions, these are all machines with 5 axes, 6 axes. We have some machines with 17 axes working simultaneously. If something goes wrong, for a maintenance guy to figure that out takes hours. If you have an intelligent system that is based on AI, getting data based on past data, what has happened, you can do this in minutes. And maybe you can also put in some program or algorithms or whatever you want to say to self-correct this problem. So these are the kind of things that we are working on. We put a simple thing in place 5-6 years ago when we started with Industry 4.0. We said we should have zero, in a factory like ours, there are 3 kinds of problems on machines. One is problems with hydraulic systems, oil leakage, pressure drops, things like that. Problem with electronic systems, something going wrong, some system busting off, and problem with the electrical system. And the last problem, which you can't do much about, is the wear and tear. But the wear and tear is predictable, so you know when to change what. But these 3 problems, we said we need zero hydraulic maintenance, we need zero electronic maintenance, and zero electrical maintenance. And I'll tell you, almost in 90% of our shop floors, we have been able to achieve that by using just Industry 4.0. The sensors giving data well in time, people taking action on that. So this is the advantage of that, and that improves productivity quite a lot. This is not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen, believe me, but it's a tool that we have in our hand to use.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Shiv Yogi. I represent Electronic City Industry Association. Congratulations, you have many first. Proud to have Bharat Forge as an Indian company with a lot of market share. Quickly, sir, I think you spoke about automation. You gave an example of Navy. Today 99% of the sensors are imported. Of course, sensor also used in strategic business like defense. So what is your take on sensors to be manufactured in India? Thank you.
Well, I think somebody should do it. It's not my business, but I'm a user of sensors.
Shown a underwater, things are going on. At IIT Guwahati also we have started 2 years back underwater project using robotics. It's pretty much in nascent stage, but there are some good results are coming. I just am curious to know, are you planning to venture into the underwater defense, system like submarines and other things? Because our country, we pay huge amount of money to outsider companies and others. So are you planning to get into that? That will be a great service to our nation provide.
I agree with you. Be a great service. I'll tell you the reality today. We say we build ships. There are at least, I think, 8 or 9 shipyards belonging to the Indian Navy and Ministry of Defense. We only build the hull, nothing else. Everything else comes from outside. The engine, the transmission, the shafting, the propeller, everything comes from outside. Okay, the electronics, the control systems. So we are slowly now moving into making the drive system for ships and submarines, which is fundamentally, it's a long shaft. It's almost 25 meters long. It's forged, so that's pretty much part of our business. It's got a lot of machining. Then a gearbox, then another shaft, and the control systems for the propeller. It's got a pitch control system for the propeller. So we are getting into that business. We are also getting into the business of the electronic and electrical equipment on deck of a ship. We are now building also the 2 main guns which are there on a ship. One is a 30 millimeter gun and one is a 76 millimeter gun, naval guns. All these have been imported so far. Not a single thing is made in India. And this is the technology that we think we can put into place and will make India far more, let's say, Atmanirbhar, using indigenous technology, using our own IP in this. Whatever we do, by the way, we use our own IP. And a lot of work we are doing with many IITs today, IIT Bombay, IIT Madras, Kharagpur, Kanpur. We work with a lot of IITs today for many of our projects. So in Guwahati, if you are working in underwater domain, at some point in time, I think you will connect with our people.
So I did know that you're working with many IITs, and one of the things, one of the things that we at IIT ACP want to do is to connect industries with the IIT. So we'll talk about that offline, but if you can send us some live problems which the other 4 IITs have not solved, we can transmit it to 23 other 18, 17 IITs. So we're happy to do that.
Sure.
And if you can say 2-3 words about what I mentioned about that MMM program, how Bharat Forge benefited, and how other companies should take the lead when they have not taken the lead.
I mean, this was when Ashok was director at IIT, Mumbai. I got an idea. This was almost like 20 years ago.
Almost.
Yeah.
15 years.
Yeah, 15 years ago. We didn't have a tech center. We didn't have a research center. We didn't have a clue of how to build a research center. Because, we are a metal bashing industry. It wasn't very technically savvy at that time. It's now become very technically savvy. So I said, let's set up a research center. And the 3 or 4 things that we really required, we are a metallurgical industry, so we needed knowledge of materials. We needed understanding of modeling, because we do a lot of modeling. And especially if you're developing new things, you have to do a lot of modeling. And we needed understanding of course, mechanical engineering and everything else. So we developed, I went to Ashok and said, we want to do this. And of course, he had to go through his academic council, and it took a little time, but they did a fantastic job. And this program was where we sent 25 of our engineers working in our company. Minimum working experience was 5 years. Most of them were about 6-7 years. A 2-year program at Powai, 1 year in Powai, in classrooms, 1 year doing the projects with their professors from Powai, but doing projects in our company or in the labs there. And this has formed the backbone of our technology in our company for the last 15, 20 years. We almost got something like 200 odd people trained through IIT Powai. We also do a similar program for bachelors. This we do with Birla Institute. Very similar. It's a 3-year program. This is a 2-year program. And there we have trained about 600 odd people who are not engineers into engineers. The advantage of using people who work for you is they understand your product, they understand your processes, and with the new learnings that they get, they can do some wonderful things. All our new defense products that we have made, artillery guns, all this I'm talking about, is all is headed by one of those guys who has either come out of the IIT program or come out of the BITS program.
Hello, sir. I'm Sanjay Kabe. Thank you so much for your wonderful talk. You talked about rupture, the disruption. Just a question for Bharat Forge. How far are you in this journey, and what do you think the time frame? That is my first question. And the second question is, the entire ecosystem, would it be involved from the government to educational institutions to financial institutions, schools and people? What is the scale of this disruption that you're talking about?
Well, to answer your first question, I think by the end of this year, at least our first program will be online. We are quite confident about that because we are doing this ourselves. In terms of your second and third question, it all depends on how the ecosystem gets developed within India. Because unless and until you have an ecosystem, which the earlier speaker talked about, you're not very sure, and I can't build an ecosystem. This is not my foray or my expertise. We don't have any expertise in this area. So we have to depend on somebody who is going to build I wouldn't call it an LLM, but some kind of a model that works on the laws of physics, that works on the laws of the world, not based on taking existing information and taking it 3 steps forward, which is what the ChatGPT and everything else is doing right now. And sometimes you can get very wrong answers with that. So we don't use that. We are trying to do things in a simplified fashion because we need to make a start somewhere. I can't wait for the final solution to arrive and then make a start. So we need to make a start somewhere, just like we made a start with IIT Powai 15 years ago to set up our tech center. So we're making a start here. And I'm sure in 5 years this will look very different than what I've kind of presented to you, because this will change. And that's why I said it is not a transient phenomenon. It is a phenomenon that's going to break a lot of existing rules and get on to a lot of new things.
Hi, sir. So my name is Anand Koningmom, and I am from IIT Dharwad. So what I want to know is, there was a slide about using this AR/VR for this manufacturing, right? So I want to know how much AR/VR is able to help. And second question is, are you using any kind of 3D printing or to manufacture the parts and all?
Well, we do 3D printing. We have developed 3D printing for the last 10 years. We actually even have a factory that has a dozen 3D printers producing commercial 3D printing. So that's a technology we know quite well. The AR/VR is only a tool that gives you a 3-dimensional view of something, but gives you each part view. The trick is that for each part, based on the data that you have, based on your previous experience, you can build right algorithms as to how that part has to be produced. So we don't have to wait for things to happen. And the next step will be, after it tells you how the part has to be produced, you can take the raw material to the shop floor and gets programmed automatically to produce it. That will be the next step. So this is how a combination of digital technology, AI, and all that is going to get used for developing new products.
Thank you so much for all. I think you have answered all the questions and we've kept you very busy. If I may broach another subject, that you do a lot in terms of corporate social responsibility in the areas where your factories are. So what you're doing for the nation in that, or in that, for the city of Pune at least, or Maharashtra? I think we'd like to hear that also.
Well, we're doing a lot of things here. We have taken about 120 villages in Maharashtra, mainly in the drought-prone areas of Maharashtra. As in Marathi we call it Dattak. That means they're like your child, okay? And in these villages, this work has been going on for about 20 odd years. It's not started yesterday. In these villages, we now have 8 villages that have reached gold and platinum standard in sustainability. That means green villages. Okay, they don't require anything from the outside, they don't throw anything outside. Number 2, in each of these villages, the per household income of the village has gone up by 5x minimum, and in many cases by 10x, because of the intervention that we have done. And the interventions are very simple. When we go into a village, we do an economic survey of what the household is, income, children's education, sanitation, health conditions, the cattle, many of them have cattle inside the house, okay? And then we put a road map to say, and then road, transportation, water availability, all those kind of things. And then we put the solution in place. Our requirement is that for the solution, the villagers have to do 15% of the work themselves. Nothing is free. Nothing is given on a plate. We take care of the remaining 85%. And it has worked beautifully well. We don't have any political interference. No politician even comes anywhere near it because the villagers throw them out. Okay? So this is one thing that we are doing. We have restricted to Maharashtra because going to villages itself is a very arduous task. Many of these villages are in areas where there are no roads. They are located in jungles. They are located in, very difficult places to go to. We are now also doing a lot of work in skill development. So we did the first ITI in Maharashtra. That was about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And that became a model ITI in the whole country. So we are doing a couple of ITIs in Maharashtra. But more than that, recently, I think last year, we have created a skill development center in Nagaland, in Kohima, and a skill development center in Mizapur, Manipur, in areas where, it's not simple for people from Pune to go and come back. But the skill development center in Nagaland is about 1.5 years old. The first batch that came out of that, 20 students who came out of that, they got a diploma in engineering. All 20 were picked up by a German company and sent to Germany for employment. And there's so much benefit that something like that generates in a community, in a society, in a state. It's just unbelievable.
Thank you so much. So impressive what all you have done in the country. Now you know why I say he's my favorite CEO in the manufacturing industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.